Okay. Says we're up.
Oh, yeah, there's the notification.
Yeah, let's see. How do I find the chat again? That's comments, right? Yeah. All right,
Uh,
everybody. Welcome back. Casting Creations episode 2. We are back again. We probably would have gone live last weekend, but it was my birthday weekend, and my
Happy
nights were
birthday.
a little busy. So we are back. We have some people in the chat already. Hudson, how are you? You are the first viewer. Hank Sandy Bates, I think you were here last time, so welcome back. Happy late birthday. So, for anyone tuning in who may not know, um, started a Bait Makers podcast, Casting Creations. This is episode 2. Joining me is the one and only Michael from Bait Chuckin', also 8-Bit Baits. So, please state your name and title
Hey,
and
everybody.
introduce yourself.
My name is Michael. I am the owner of 8-Bit Baits, world's most expensive pigment powders, apparently, and also run the YouTube channel Bait Chuckin', which was heavily inspired by Mr. Chris Jones over here. It was his bait making that got me
Hey,
started.
I'll take credit for something as good as your content. What's going on, Johnny Sweet? How are you,
What's up,
dude? I
Johnny?
like your cup. Was that made out of siren scales?
No, no,
Come
this
on,
is
come on.
this is
You know
this
it
is
was.
just glitter and epoxy. It'd be nice if it was,
It
but this
literally
was
looks like a bait. Yeah,
yeah.
I
This
don't
is
have a cup that fancy.
YouTube. That's how this was a total arts and crafts channel. How to make like an epoxy. This is kind of also what got me into glitter
Okay,
and yeah.
okay.
So fun stuff. I need to
Keith
make a
Rose,
new version with my pigments though.
how are you, Keith? Yes, yes. Mark, what's going on? Rick, thanks for the birthday wish, man. Thank you so much. So, yeah, we're going to be discussing some topics tonight, okay? We're going to be talking about a little bit of the vendor side of the lure making industry, um, particularly talking about powders and pigments. Um, are they overpriced? Are they not overpriced? Well, we have some good perspective on that tonight. And we're also going to be talking about water baths.
Yes.
Should you put should you demold a bait when it's all still warm and fuzzy and put it in a water cool bath or not? Is that a good or bad thing? Um, I think we might have a little bit of back and forth on that because whatever position he takes, I'm going to take the opposite position
Well, I don't.
just for a thought process, just for some discussion. So
I'm just gonna ask questions because I'm actually quite clueless. I just know what my approach is based on my real world experience. So that's
yeah,
why
well,
I'm
hey, that's
curious.
all any of us have. 50 people watching, so go ahead and hit
Oh
the
well,
thumbs up.
yeah, that means we have
And
50 thumbs up, right? If there's 50 people
right,
watching,
right,
that's an automatic 1 for 1. It should be. I mean, come on,
yes, we need.
everybody.
Yep, we need 50 thumbs up. Yeah, so um, should be some comments, okay? Because comments are going to help engagement. Um, let's just go ahead and jump in, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
assuming a lot of people who are viewers might be bait makers or thinking about being bait makers. Let's go ahead and get some thoughts in the comments down below. Um, bait pigments,
Yeah.
powders. Do you like the way they're priced? Do you not like the way they're priced? Do you even buy the expensive powders? And we're not talking about your $4 jar of mica here. You know, we're talking about the Hypershift Echelon, the Hollow Shift Echelon. Do you even use powders? And then, of course, any general comments. I love answering questions. Michael loves answering questions. You know, the two of us putting our heads together, I think there's a lot of great tips that we can cover, especially if you drop us a super chat. You will have our undivided attention. So, yeah, we're just going to kind of start there. And please drop us some recommendations in the comment section as well about future topics of discussion that you want to see on the podcast. You know, I want this to be its own content separate of the tutorial based videos, which I filmed a new video today. So be on the lookout. We're making some tubes. So, yeah.
I'm excited for that one.
Triple J Bates just finished up a show. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, there were a lot of fishing shows this past weekend. I saw all over Instagram. I think there was the
Yeah.
Richmond Fishing Expo and
There was a bit the big Tennessee,
Tennessee
East
one.
Tennessee, massive. I almost went to that with Motivated Fishing. Motivated Fishing over on TikTok. He's probably live right now. He's always live over there. Um,
I'm actually going to try and
look
make it out your way to ICAST this year. So I might end up getting maybe get a booth this year. I'm thinking. We'll see.
Well, I need to make an appearance and just go talk to folks. That's what I like
I'll have
doing.
passes, so maybe 8-bit booth can be like the YouTuber hub if we can get all the creators to show up for ICAST. That'd be
This
sweet.
is great right here. Just took a trip up to Dead On Plastics, so you
There
got
you
to meet
go.
the dorks in person. Was able to get any pigment he had for $5 each. I tell you what. Speaking of powders, the Dead Shift pricing is really really great.
Yes, they're very
I
good priced.
absolutely love that stuff. There's some good stuff. Don't use powders yet. Okay.
You're missing out.
This is a great question here. What is the future of bait making products to come? Well, I can only speak on the mold side of things because I talk so closely with Josh at AI. Some of the mold projects that he has coming are a first in the garage bait maker industry. There currently exists no other mold options for a few of the projects he's working on. We're thinking big, folks, real big. In terms of colors and powders, this is actually a great question because I think Michael is working on some new siren scales. Did I hear
Yes.
correctly?
Oh, there's
Take it
so
away.
much new stuff coming. Well, I don't want this to turn into an ad for my stuff.
Nah. Well, neither do I. But we're talking about pigments in general, and hey, we have a question. Somebody wants to know what they can potentially look forward to, so we can just come at it from that angle.
Sure. So, I have some high-end stuff coming and even what I'll call, I hate to even use the term like entry level, but I'll just say more cost effective. The long-awaited mica lineup of powders is coming, which is the least expensive of the materials.
So not the silica, like we're talking apples and oranges here. Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. I have 9 new siren scale colors coming. I'm launching a new line of silica powder, which is the high end, like the Hollow Shift. That's called Moon Dust. There's 24 colors of Moon Dust. It's basically the same as Hollow Shift, but it's larger particle size. So Hollow Shift is 40 micron. These new ones are in the range between 150 to 250 microns, so much more bling, more pop to them because they're bigger. And then I have 28 colors of the Mica Shift coming along with my 5 interference pearls, which are highlight powders.
Highlights. Okay, great.
Yeah,
great.
the highlight powders. So, and that's where, it's funny, the conversation, because I know Chris and I brought up the topic of my powders apparently have become the topic of discussion lately in the Facebook forums, the price at least. And so, but the case in point where, my Mica Shift powders, the highlight powders, for example, those are right in line with the same highlight powders you'd find at Lureworks. I apply a standard retail formula to the products that I import. I don't, these are all imported powders, to give people kind of a peek into that world. There's only, I could count on one hand the number of factories that even make color shifting pigments worldwide.
Oh yeah.
Guess how many are in the United States? Like 0. So, along with the material costs, there's import costs, tariffs for importing from certain countries, packaging, labeling, and we can go on and on about everything that's involved here.
We could get political, but are tariffs about to increase, you think? I know that tariffs are a big bargaining chip right now on the world stage. So.
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword, because I import stuff for my day job as well, right? So while I do think it's a good thing overall, it's also really going to hurt industry, and it could potentially hurt consumers depending on how some companies will absorb that cost, other companies will pass it off to the consumer. So it's just going to depend on how a company's going to handle their financials, so it's a double-edged sword,
What's up, Mixed Up Baits? How are you? So this is just Uh-oh.
Oh, there goes the
Oh, my
camera
camera
timing.
timed out again. Yeah, buddy. Um,
Okay,
so
so
I
folks,
know,
this is
I
why we
know.
need super chats so Chris can get a new camera that doesn't time
Yeah,
out
we
every
we
20
we need to
minutes.
open
So,
a what are those? GoFundmes or just super chat fundies, so that I
yeah.
can get a proper streaming camera. Because my regular video camera, as you can see, it has a hard time staying in the game. But I can just speak on powder and pigment pricing, just from my perspective as a longtime user. Uh, you know, $40 for 5 grams, and sometimes more. Some of yours
Yeah.
are in the 60 range for the hollows.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Right.
59 $60
Okay.
for
So
5 grams,
yeah,
basically.
seems absurd, right? For $60 for a little bit of powder. However, the more you use powders, the more you learn, the lesser amount of it you need to
Yep.
get the best possible result and effect. You can use the equivalent of an eighth of a teaspoon. Okay. I mean, we are talking a fraction of this. Okay. A fraction of that mixed in to a top color on, say, a set of hand poured swim baits or shads can pay for that. If and this isn't everyone, of course, not everyone's selling hand pours or really trying to do that sort of you know strategy with their bait sales, but it only takes this much of it to pay for itself. A little goes a long way. Johnny, quit paying me, okay? I thank you for the super chat, love, but come
Johnny.
on, buddy. I got to pay you back for these. You've done enough. You've helped the bait community enough. But seriously, yeah, right here, a fraction of a smidge. So that would just be, the first counter argument I have in my mind. Whenever I see these kinds of comments, because I'm on the Facebook groups a lot, I'm always kind of engaging on these sort of topics here and there as I can. I read what a lot of people write about products in the industry, whether it's some of the brands that I support or other brands, and I always see a lot of, well, these powders overpriced. I can just go source them myself or something. And my counter to that is, okay, maybe you can source them yourself, but for somebody to bring it to market, packaging, all the R&D cost, importing it properly, right? We're
Yes.
we're just going to leave it there. Importing
Legally.
importing things actually properly, to where you have
Yeah.
to pay import duty on them. All of this adds up, and my kind of retort to the argument that they might be overpriced is, if you use them, correctly, if you're selling baits, they'll pay for themselves like that. If you're not selling baits, I still think you're getting a heck of a deal, because there's no other, powders, or there's really no other way to get those effects other than to reach that hyper shift, hollow shift, echelon. Um, and a little goes a long ways. I still have 5 gram bags that I've probably had, some of them probably a little bit over 2 years now, and I pour like mad. Like, I'm always out here throwing powders and stuff. Um, I just think if you use them correctly, which is a little, less is more.
Mhm.
Um, you really do get more, and not only from the effect of the powder in the color itself, but how much you can stretch that 5 grams. Um, so yeah, that's just kind of how I would approach that from the user side of things.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I can, I'm happy to be open and honest. And I mean, I actually want to share. This is part of Chris and I talk. I'd love to share my business knowledge with a lot of folks.
yeah,
Because my experience, kind of where I got into powders and why I'm playing in the area I'm playing in, is because no one was there. And so, for my day job, I design and build gaming headsets. I've been doing it for over 20 years.
yeah,
We do hot plastic injection with a lot of different forms of plastic. So I'm very familiar with all the suppliers worldwide. And I saw, kind of what you were doing with the Dip Your Car stuff,
yeah,
and some of the other pigment companies out there. And I know from my experience, there are even tiers above what they're doing, that are multi-purpose. They work in auto and paint industry, but also for other, even
yeah,
cosmetics in some cases, that can handle the abuse. And so I came to market with these powders knowing they're going to be expensive, because no one else was playing there. And I have it's like there's no shame in my game, because I'm just running literally the same retail formula I would run if I'm selling a headset for, the giant corporation that I work for, is the same formula that I'm, markup that I'm charging here. Expensive source material results in an end price. It's a standard markup, and anyone who knows retail can work backwards. I mean, it's not rocket science. Divide anything by 4. Whatever Taco Warehouse is selling something for, divide it by 2. That's what they're buying it for. Divide that by 2. That's what the factory is selling it, or the brand is selling it for. And then you can shave off from there what costs and everything added up are. And so at the end of the day, like, it's not like I'm selling Air Jordans or Beats where there's like a 400% markup. And that's why the mica powders are
margins are teeny, guys.
Yeah. So it's not rocket science. Like there's no hidden agenda. I'm just trying to bring to market, the highest possible quality. And I can stand behind that, because I know that, like, they're the best in the world. They're top bin, and no one can, stand up against it. I have all the certs and everything to go along with it. It's good stuff.
What is the highest quality powder that you've been able to find? Is it the silica holoshift?
Well, so you have to define high quality. I'll say for the needs I think that we have as bait makers, these are the top tier. I have not found anything more, because
very interesting. Because
when you think about, so they were subjected to super high heat, right? And they have to blend with PVC if they're in plastisol. They have to be chemical resistant if you're going to use them in paint, right? Even with epoxy, so they have to be solvent resistant,
resistant
as well. And silicone is one of the very few materials in the world that can, like, withstand that beating and that abuse.
Everything.
So everything all at once for what we do, and be safe in your microwave, which is, we can get into glitter, which I would just put a warning out there, because I see some of the glitter floating around Facebook. Y'all better be careful, because half of that crap is made of aluminum, and you're destroying your microwaves without even realizing it. You think you're getting a deal on some fancy opalescent glitter, but if it's silver based to take the heat, you're literally destroying your microwave. So be very careful. You need to get PET glitter, not aluminum glitter.
Okay. Good information here. See, and this is stuff that even us veterans have just never thought about. When I got started making baits, it was all about, you got to get high temperature polyester glitter. Polyester.
PET. Polyester.
Mm-hmm. So, that's just kind of what we've been using the whole time. Great question coming in here from Ronald. Sorry.
Quick fun fact about glitter. Most people don't know.
About glitter.
It was invented here in the United States, and there's only 2 factories in the entire U.S., and there's only a 3rd factory outside the U.S. that even make glitter.
Polycryl?
No, that might be the name. Okay. Glitter X is one of them. Glitter X is one of them. Okay. And then, but it would shock you. I mean, I don't want to say it here, but if you knew who the number one consumer of glitter was, what entity was the number one consumer of glitter, it would shock you.
Let me take a stab. A boat manufacturer.
No.
Okay. Because when I so I'm gonna throw it back here. Whenever I first started making baits back in the dark ages, I wanted to source my own materials, right? I wanted to mix my own plastic. I wanted to source my own glitter. I didn't want to go through Lure-Craft. I didn't want to go through Lure-Works, right? Because screw those guys. I'm just gonna go around them. So I called Polycryl, which I think was the parent company of Glitter X, and I basically said, "Tell me about bulk pricing for glitter. Where does this stuff come from?" And they mentioned that the bass boat industry was one of their biggest customers. Think about how many bass boats have been made that are chock-a-block slam full of glitter like ours. Yeah. So I figured it was actually the marine industry. Is it cosmetics?
It's not cosmetics. It's military.
What? I am shocked. Color me shocked. Fun fact. All
Bass
right.
boats is up there though. Marine is like
It's
number two or
gotta be.
three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. What is your most favorite color shift? Coming in from Ronald Haynes, and I swear we will catch up on chats here in a moment. Um, my favorite color shift.
You like that
Okay.
ZGX or whatever it is. Those shads you
So
do all the
yeah.
time.
So
Yeah.
ZTH, I think,
That's might
is
be it.
my favorite. Like purple, green, red type of hypershift that like actually colors the plastic. Um, for the type of color shift that does not color the plastic, and I don't know the terms here. I used to really
Does
like
not
one a
color.
lot called GC47, but I tell you, Joker, Hollow Shift, and Borealis are now super common in my workflow. I absolutely love those two.
Yeah.
We will move
Borealis is
on
my
here.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah,
By far the best seller, at least the ones I move, is Borealis for sure.
dude, I've only scratched the surface of Borealis, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's an absolute dude. 90 people. Okay, so we need 90 thumbs up, and we
Yeah.
need like 90 super chats right now. Checking in, guys. Fat Boy Fishing, how are you? Johnny
What's up,
Sweet
Fat Boy
says
Fishing?
ZTG. Yeah, ZGT. Is that the green to blue one? Is that like what I would use for green color shift shad? Yep, Borealis is amazing. Let's see. I pay locally in Australia 17. What's their unit of what's their
Yeah.
dollar called? Um,
I don't know.
per gram for color shift
Yeah.
powder.
There's
Yeah.
there's three grades of pigments, okay? So and
Okay.
I'll put them in quality, so no matter where you buy from, just know what you're getting. Um,
Okay.
mica powder is going to be on, let's call that the entry level tier, or it's inexpensive to make, but it is solid, meaning it will, like, it darkens up the plastic. You can't see through it. There are some interference pearls, but again, those have that kind of yellow or greenish tinge to it when you look through it, because
Yeah.
of the makeup of mica. It can handle all the abuse that we need, but that's going to be your lowest. And typically micas, you'll see, especially like with my shifts that I'm bringing in, with most shifts out there, it's either a 2-color shift, or
Yeah.
it's usually like a base mica powder mixed with a 2-color shift. So it's kind of like 3, but
Australian
just
dollar.
it's really only a 2-color shift on top of a colored base.
Devin, thank you for the super chat, man. You are my hero. If there's anything you want to ask, or any just comments in general, hey, you've got the floor with your super chat. So, question, and this is me just picking Michael's brain. Are there any powders? Now, I don't know about any other type of pigment medium, but are there any powders that truly shift 3 colors, or is that just us seeing 3 colors? Or like are there any that you found that like chemically should show you 3 colors from different angles?
Oh yeah, the silica
Okay.
ones,
Okay.
the hollow shift, and even some of the one.
Because they
I
look
think
like they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alpha Pigments has some as well. I think the DYC may have a couple.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Most
Yeah.
of the stuff I see, and I could be wrong because I haven't ordered any, but from
Yeah.
looking at the vendors, knowing the factories, I would imagine most of the DYC stuff is in the borosilicate range, which again, that was going to call that like the next mid tier.
Yeah.
Borosilicate, it's clear.
Borosilicate.
It can handle all the abuse, and you get that kind of 2, sometimes 3 colors. But this, where you get to the silica powder, that's where it's all done with silica and titanium. I'm getting my words. Titanium dioxide, if I have that correctly.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a thin layer, and they oxidize the titanium powder or dust on there, and the oxidation process turns it to different colors. And so depending on how they oxidize it, the temperature, the chemical amounts used, turn the color is where they get from the shift. And
How
so,
did you do in chemistry in high school and college?
Horrible.
Like you are
horrible. This is just me I've learned all this. I've learned all this because I have to market it. So like I have to ask all the questions.
Yeah. Mike,
and so,
Trout, whoever you are, thank you so much for the super chat. Sorry, just got to shout that out.
And so what makes the silica grade powders so special is that they're completely translucent. They're invisible at certain angles, and you're dealing with light refraction, not reflection, which is a huge difference. They're
And
almost like miniature prisms.
is
Yeah.
that the real reason why they tend to just look better when you don't opaque them? Because
Yes.
that's my
That
real world experience from the first powder I ever used. I was like, man, it really looks better when I don't just load it up.
yeah
And as I started using more and more expensive powders, that became even more apparent. But
yeah,
you don't really know
especially the Aurora
why. You're
pearls.
just going on what you're seeing in your Pyrex,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
99 people watching.
that's what you'll see them commonly referred to in the painting industry as Aurora pearls for that reason. So if you put them in even with no
Okay.
black behind them, just like so us and clear plastisol, you
Yeah.
get all that light refraction and it looks like a prism in there.
Yeah.
But you'll notice the Borealis will be green and blue, Joker will be green and purple. So it's like a limited prism. And that's where some of the shifts, you'll get 3, sometimes 4 colors. I'll have some that'll go, orange to yellow to blue, green to blue on the extreme edges, sometimes purple. So it just
Yeah.
depends on how, where that level of refraction is and the type of powder.
You're going to love this one.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. The Timu color shift powders look like color shift in the. Yeah, funny how that happens.
Ain't that something, huh? Yeah, it's like ordering something off of Prince Ali, Jolly as he, Alibaba.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's really fascinating. I've obviously probably had this sort of meta conversation with you about powders in just via telephone or something. But it's amazing how much there really is to learn about this stuff that we just don't know as the end user.
Yeah.
So yeah, because if I just go to my powder box, okay, some color shifts color the plastic, some don't, and I guess there is a chemical reason for that. But I just don't ever think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can use this one as a belly color because my belly stays clear. It does not actually color the plastic. And then if I want to fade my layers up to a more darker solid color, I know what powders will actually thicken the plastic, actually color the plastic. So
Yeah.
um,
There's other cool stuff about I mean, not to go in the weeds, but I'll just more about
109 viewers.
silica powder. It also creates. This is why they're so great for painting. Certain powders, some borosilicates will do this too, but mostly the silica powders. And it's a property of the silica, the way this is getting really into the chemistry, the way the ions, the way the ions are bonded. They create what's called an aqueous suspension. So when you mix a silica powder into our plastisol, you'll notice they mix really well because they literally create once there's a layer of liquid in between them, they will only get so close to one another. So they suspend.
I've always wondered that.
And they'll stay suspended longer. So whereas glitter will kind of sink to the bottom if your plastisol is really hot, you got 2-3 hours working time before any of that silica powder is even going to start to settle.
All right. And some powders, I feel like you got to mix them and mix them
Yes,
and mix
and they'll
them, and
just
they clump and they mix and they clump
sink.
and they clump and then they sink. Okay, I've never really understood why there's that distinction there. So
because the initial use case for these powders is for hot plastic injection. And so not only in the ABS PC space, but even cosmetics are also heated up and they're injected and then stamped, when they cool. That's why they look all pristine in those trays. So even then, when you're designing a powder that's to be injected and dispersed into something, it's designed in a way so that it's evenly suspends, so you don't get it all clumped to one side. A makeup tray or a headset or your mouse would look real funky if you have a pigment additive and it's all on one side of the part. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
that can happen if you're not using the right stuff. So
just moving on to some more chats. Why are some of the molds so expensive? Well, I would just say think about it as you are the company selling the mold. You've invested Oh, I don't know. Probably what's a cheap mill? 40 grand? You know,
That feels cheap. I was going to say 50 or 60. I mean, I don't
so
know. I'm not in
so
that
the
world.
I think they're like Haas version 2. Like I don't remember the exact model, but Josh's machines at AI, I know they pretty much all come in right at about $80,000. So let's say you're a mold startup. Okay, you're now taking out a loan essentially for a machine. Not to mention all the R&D, all the material, right? So you're buying the aluminum plates. Um, Whenever you cut a mold, most of that material goes to waste. It ends up as shavings in the bottom of a machine, which you cannot then remelt and reuse. They have to be sent off to essentially be refurbished into working aluminum again. Maintenance of a single milling machine are astronomical. Tooling breaks. You then have to buy CAD software. Um, I, I I just think it's a real simple answer why molds are expensive. It's expensive to make them. To get to that finished mold, um, you are talking about a financial commitment that most of us as bait makers we just don't have. We think it's expensive to buy the molds, buy the plastic, and start a little garage bait making thing, and we're out $5,000, and we're like, man, this was an expensive hobby. That doesn't even scratch the surface of even your
Yeah.
most small production tabletop mill mold maker.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
extrapolate that to some of these large companies, that have 5 or 6 machines that they're likely still paying off. Um, a warehouse, right? So now you got to buy a building, got to pay
Yeah.
utilities on the building, tax on the building, whatever the loan is for the building. It has to pass certain code because it's manufacturing. There's environmental studies that have to be done. At least there was when Josh bought his new building in Michigan. Oh, let's see what else.
Running on the
It,
machines, you get
yeah, runtime on the machines, wear and
water,
tear.
electricity, like those,
Yep.
they're not cheap to run either.
Oh, and here's a little one: paying employees, payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, business insurance. Um, yeah, the fact that we can get these kind of molds for 100, 150, $200 really is not bad at the end of the day. I can't talk too much from a place of authority on it because I've never just totaled up what it would cost for me to start a mold business. But it's brutal, guys.
Yeah.
It's
And I
it's
would say
brutal.
just being around machining, at least in the headphone industry, it
Yeah.
all comes down to machine time on the machine. And so I think that's why you'll see, you could get a mold blank that's maybe the same size, but one's more expensive than the other. And I guarantee that increase in cost is because one probably takes 15 or 20 minutes
Yeah.
longer per mold to tool up than maybe the one next to it.
Yeah.
So you got to keep that in mind. That's also, going to
That's
factor
a
in as well.
That's a great point Michael makes because I know just from talking to Josh, and again, I'm really only coming from the knowledge that I have about AI, who has 15 years now of experience and investment into this. After all of those other costs are totaled up, ultimately it comes down to machine time, right? He's already factoring in the cost of running his business, whether it be paying off machines, employees, maintenance, building expenses, all of the above, taxes, um, insurance. It comes down to machine time. So a mold that takes 10 minutes longer of machine time is going to be more expensive. All of that is reflected in the cost. That's why AI does not go to the trouble of machining all the corners to a rounded mirrored finish and machining the edges and doing machine engravings on the outside of the plates. That's all extra machine time that then gets passed on to the customer. What's in the cavity is what counts.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
again, I understand molds are an investment, and I understand,
Hmm.
it's everyone is operating on different budgets, so I totally understand that. But someone brought up in the chat, about it's a long-term investment, which it is. I mean, when you factor, you spend $150 on a mold. Well, if you're buying, baits at, $5, $6 a pack, 20, 30 packs is going to pay for your mold. So over the
Yep.
span of,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not like you can use that mold once and be done with it. Even for personal use, if you're just a personal bait maker,
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to give that to your grandchildren. Like the inside of that mold isn't going to degrade. Like
I still have some of my first molds. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So once you own it,
Yeah.
it's there. You're going to get the same
It's
bait you did 20 years
yeah.
from now as you do when you have it today.
Consider it a durable good, right? Um, this is not something that really depreciates at all. Um, they actually hold their value, um, and so not only are they actually pretty good on the resale market, but once you have a mold, you have it. That's it. It's
And there's
it really,
molds that
and with injectors too. Injectors are expensive, but you buy one and it'll work until you're pushing up daisies.
well, you've had a couple examples on your channel. I mean, there's molds that you get a mold company goes out of business and it becomes a sought after mold. And so then you get molds that go up in
BTS.
value, you know?
Hmm. Has my dog ever ruined a fishing trip? Yes. I This is Big Bird, by the way. We went to the 2011 Bassmaster Classic over on the Louisiana Delta, and I was running my old high school aluminum boat, and my dog, I guess, had gotten up under the console, chewed a
Uh-oh.
bunch of wires up. So we made this drive over there, and we were going to be a spectator boat for the tournament, and nothing worked. Couldn't get it to crank. Lights wouldn't come on. None of the gauges worked, and Brandon had to rewire the boat in the middle of the night at this hotel. It was a great story. It was a great story. Yeah. So yeah, Brains Baits in the chat. Quality always costs more. Cry once, smile forever.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I
Right.
mean, there's something to be said for that. Going cheap. Going cheap is ultimately going to end in, man, I wish I would have. Um, but look, I know that this is an expensive hobby and that's prohibitive in a lot of ways. Um, I just know that when I started, it was a slow thing adding molds. Um, it's not something you just jump into, or at least I didn't just jump in with these massive investments. They were really big at the time. Um, but yeah, let's see. Yeah, here's a good one. I'm actually shocked that
No.
plastisol didn't go up with inflation because every other petroleum product did. I mean, look at what happened to oil and gas,
Yeah.
which
But now
which
he
is
just jinxed it.
yeah,
So
I know.
thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah. so
I'm
so
kidding. I'm kidding.
yeah, I think just back to one of the main topics of discussion tonight. The vendors, powders, pigments. I I think it's actually an incredible value. Are you going to be able to go buy every single hyper shift or hollow shift your first time as a new bait maker? No, of
No,
course not.
no.
Right? Like I wouldn't want somebody to go spend $250 having never used powders at all, because you might not like it. So I would say grab a few and try it. Once you go down that rabbit hole, it really is fantastic. I remember the first time I used powders. It was the ugliest thing in the world, but I knew that I was onto something. And hey, I've not looked back. So
Very good.
snatching, yeah, thanks, yeah. So audio's pretty good. I've got my internet speed up. Picture's pretty good, but my camera still wants to shut down here in about 15
But
minutes.
no delays though tonight. I think we're doing much better. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Let's see. Here's an interesting one. I've used blue and silver hologram stick glitter. Okay, so string cut maybe from Walmart, and it works great. Yeah, I have
Hmm.
actually used some Hobby Lobby glitters that worked out okay.
Hmm.
But we might be damaging our microwaves without knowing it. So this guy right here has the intel.
I think you're good with the Hobby Lobby stuff. I look
Yeah,
that stuff's all pretty. Yeah.
guys, we have 118 people watching right
That's
now.
what's up. All
Please
right.
hit the thumbs up and watch for a long time. That helps engagement. If you just pop in and out for 8 seconds, that actually hurts us. So Yeah. So yeah, here's Pete. Oh, I know how to pronounce his name now. Pappas, I think. Yeah, he is one of the up and coming powder kings. What this guy is
Oh yeah.
doing with the tracer shad. Yeah, Pete and the tracer shad. I'm pretty sure, like, had a honeymoon together. Like, he is absolutely killing it. Oh, there we go. He is
There's the camera.
absolutely killing it in the powder sphere. And I'm sure he will be a long, long, long time customer of every single powder supplier.
I'm gonna have to follow him. What's his Instagram page? Is it Pete Pappas on Instagram as well?
He's on. You're not on Facebook.
I'm not on
Pete,
Facebook.
hey Pete, let us know if you are on Instagram, and shoot us your handle. He says yep, so I'm thinking that he is. Yeah. Okay. So here's a great little comment, just to I guess restate why we all love to do this. Getting the perfect bait in the perfect size and color anytime you want is priceless.
Indeed. Agreed.
124 people watching. Thanks so much,
All
guys. Thumbs up.
right.
If you want to support what we're doing, obviously, drop us another super chat. Okay, here is a great question. Let's see if we can answer this one. Budget friendly dual injector. Is there a quote unquote budget friendly dual kit? Probably. Probably on Amazon, probably on eBay, some of these sort of off manufacturers. I don't ever recommend you go cheap on an injector. Let's
Yeah.
let's recap what an injector does. It takes 350-degree liquid hot magma plastic that sticks to your skin if it gets on you, and it puts it under pressure. Don't.
I wouldn't.
If
I
there's
wouldn't cheap out.
anything to invest absolutely to the highest quality in, it would be injectors, simply for safety alone.
Yeah. I
Won't let
mean,
me super chat. Oh no. Well, super chats are on, so
there's
all right.
only, I would. There's only three. I think I would even like be safe.
Consider.
Consider, yeah, which would be a bass tackle, an angling AI, or a N2. Outside of those
Yep.
three, I haven't seen any. I mean, and I've never used N2, but just I know Adam swears by them and loves them, so I know that they're safe and useful. But even outside of those three designs,
Yeah.
you're gambling with your hands there. Yeah.
Yeah. So bass tackle is the long tried and true. I think they've just been at the top of the injector game for longer than anybody. So I don't think there's really anything that you can say other than, yeah, they are here for the long haul. Like you get these high end injectors and you are married to them. Like they are not going to leave you for better or for worse. Um, the AI dual injector is a completely one of one unique piece of equipment. I used it. I actually filmed a video today and was going to launch it. Was going to launch it tonight until we decided to do a podcast here. So I was using that today to pulse milk the cow. And to do laminates, I'm enjoying it very much. But you can obviously get great injectors elsewhere. I have a single injector from N2. It's the tolerances are a little loose for me. It feels a little loosey goosey. It works just fine. I feel like I always feel like any second now it's going to shoot plastic out the back because it just feels too loose. Maybe that's just an O-ring thing, but a lot of people seem to like them.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's like anything else. There are the top dogs, but I just think going back to the OP's question, we can sit here and compare all the top injectors, but to actually answer the question,
Don't
please
skimp. Yeah.
don't go cheap on an injector. Buy do it molds. Buy the cheapest powders that you can. Have a
Yeah.
blast. You're going to catch fish. You're going to enjoy the hobby just as much as anyone else with $50,000 of pigments and molds. Don't skimp on your injector. That is my best advice.
Yeah. Buy stone molds or plastic molds if you have to in the beginning. just to
That's
afford a
funny.
good injector.
This
Yeah.
question: what is your best advice to do bait makers? Be
Don't
safe,
skimp on injecting. Yeah,
and
be
part of
safe.
that is not buying a cheap injector. Yep. 50, what's going on? Yeah,
What's up,
yeah. Well,
Toby?
hey, I'm glad you did not miss it. Yeah. Yep. 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 RCB Bates is having good results with his Quality Injector and More. I still have a 10-ounce single injector from Quality Injector and More, and the O-rings, I'll be honest, they do not fit at all, but it injects wonderfully. I can take the O-rings off the plunger. They just fall right off. Somehow it works. All right. Who's this dork right here? Evening.
Oh, what's up,
Glad you
Jacob?
dropped in. Glad you dropped in. Ask us some questions or give us some comments. Better yet, give us some topics that you want to see on the podcast
Well,
next. We're always looking for you know um, ideas for discussions.
I'm
We've
waiting to jump into our next topic.
yeah. Okay. All right. Are we ready to jump into the next topic?
It's your show. I'm just along for the ride. You let me
Shoot.
know. I'm just
Let me take a sip of beer. I noticed that you are not drinking tonight.
no. I have a sparkling water tonight. This is a 0 calorie, 0 sugar
Right. In your
sparkling water.
that's right. In your Siren Scales cup.
Mm.
Yeah.
But no, I wanted to. Whenever we get to it, though, just because I know there's a lot of people watching right now, I want to know
We
why
can get to
people
it right now.
keep dipping your brand new plastics of water. What's wrong with you people?
Okay,
I
so
don't get it.
Michael has taken a position that the water bath is a bad idea. Okay, I think that's what I'm
When
hearing.
when I got my first 5 gallon tub of dead on plastics, there's a sheet of paper right on top, which I'm sure everyone throws away. But it says
Yeah.
right there, do not submerge your freshly injected baits into water. And how many videos do I see of people, oh, let's check water bath, take it right and throw it right in the water bath? I'm like,
Guilty. You know who started that? This dork in Tallahassee. Oh, we have a super chat. Hold on. We got a highlight.
oh, Toby,
Yeah, yeah.
no
Thank you so
question.
much. Beautiful hand pours right there. Right, it looks like in his avatar, or would that be an avatar? Let's see. All right, so water bath. So that's something that I used to do a lot. Okay, and I didn't just pull it out of my rear end. I will lightly defend the position here because I
Yeah.
do agree it's not the best practice. But to defend the position, okay, just because I like these thought experiments, water bath was something that I used to do when I did a lot more production injection. Okay, and when I say production, I mean small production. Shooting out of a gallon Presto pot. I
Yeah.
never owned a shooting star or anything huge, right? So production for me was I'd come out here and shoot a gallon of worms at a time and get 300, 400 worms. Okay, not thousands, but in that process, right? Your molds get piping hot. After 4 or 5 shots, your
Yes.
molds are piping hot. So what I found was I'm opening up molds, and progressively they're getting softer, hotter, gooier. Right as I'm trying to demold them, I'm now having to wait more and more time, and I'm pulling them out kind of before they're ready. Okay, so something that I noticed that Jeff Peel, the hand pouring goat, used to do because I've stalked his Facebook many times. And what he would do is whenever he would clear dip his hand poured swim baits, right? Think about what a
Mhm.
clear dip is. You're essentially adding an exterior layer of clear plastisol. And what makes a clear dip really special is that when you pull it out, it's so bright and shiny, right? Because the exterior of that plastic has not touched the inside of a mold cavity. Okay. So it kind of looks like wet glass, right? That's what makes a clear dip special.
Mm.
Well, how do you preserve that, but also get it to set up to where you can handle it? Well, there's two ways. You can clear dip it and immediately then hang it up by the tail, okay, and just let the clear dip just, you know, falling off the tip. What he would do is actually clear dip, kind of let some of that extra plastic go ahead and run on off the nose of the bait. He'd clip the little nose, lay him in cold water. Okay. And what that would do is just kind of thermally shock that clear dip and set it up just enough
Mm.
that 10 minutes later he could come back and comfortably handle the baits without messing up the clear dip exterior finish, without adding,
Yeah.
his fingerprints weren't going to, be molded into the clear dip, right? It was a very practical solution to a problem that he had to solve. So that was why I started putting baits in the bath. Was maybe I can move that over to, you know, I'm on my sixth run of Cincos, and I'm now pulling them out of the mold, with such haste that they're just simply not ready to demold, and that I didn't have chiller plates or water cooled plates or any of that kind of thing. So it was just something that I kind of started doing out of necessity. All it would do is just kind of set them up a little bit to where they could be comfortably handled without me thinking that I'm like stretching the material prematurely. And then I would actually lay them out to cure. Let me be clear. Water does not cure, like does not chemically cure the plastic, and in fact, I think it actually inhibits the cure process. All I was using it for was to just set them up fast enough that I could comfortably handle them, similar to what Jeff was doing with his clear dips. Um, Now, the counter to that is, does it cure your baits? No. I think there's a misconception that people are like, oh, I'm water curing. I'm water curing. You're not water curing. You're water cooling. It is literally the same thing as using a water, a water pump to run cold water through chiller plates, which a lot of production guys do. You're just doing it after the bait is demolded, in the
Yeah.
water bath. So I will come out and say after a lot of and Michael can give me his follow up to this, but I would say after a lot of water baths over a long time. I don't do it anymore, but I used to do it all the time. I can't remember it ever hurting the bait or making it not cure properly after the fact. But I would say, in general, unless it's like a really specialty process like a clear dip, I don't really think there's a need for it. Take it away.
Yeah.
What is your counter to my counter?
No, well, I don't know if it's necessarily a counter. I just based off of, um, I found it interesting to see you clear dip it in those early videos, because what I found is
Hmm.
I go out fishing, for example, anytime I use a soft plastic bait, salt infused baits, especially
Oh, those are
Cincos
the
or whatever,
worst.
right? Like,
Worst.
you go out, I mean, you make 3 casts with it, and you pull it off and I stick it on the deck of my boat. And then if I don't go back, I'll come back maybe 4 hours later, just in the afternoon, same day, and the
Cloudy.
bait's like super cloudy, doesn't look good. It looks like trying to rip it off, put a new
Yeah,
bait
yeah,
in
yeah.
there.
It's awful.
It's all cloudy.
Especially the
And
salt.
and same thing I noticed when I would like get your early baits, right? Like I was paying a lot for these baits, and I would be like, well, if I'm gonna put one on and cast it, I'm gonna fish with it because I can't come back to it later. It's gonna be all watered up and cloudy. And when I started learning more about plastisol, it's basically soft
Yeah.
PVC, and understand, oh, it's a very porous material, and it
Very
will
porous.
absorb. That's why, like like when I oil my baits, I put them in the bag first and put a squirt of bag in the oil, because
Yeah.
by the time someone pulls them out, they're not going to be oily anymore. The baits will have absorbed all that plasticizer. So
Yeah.
you got to be careful with that too. By the way, you don't want to over oil your baits. So when I see people pull them out when they're still soft and they're in a very porous stage, because like you said, they're not cured yet, and water is kind of the enemy of plastisol,
is.
especially
Yeah.
when we're heating it up. This is why we
Mhm.
vacuum all the moisture out of the plastisol.
Yeah.
just always
It's like having hot grease, no water.
So it always felt counterintuitive, like why would people water dip? And then when I got my first shipment of plastisol ever, it was dead on, and there's like a separate printout that says don't dip them in water. It's like, oh, okay, so I don't dip them in water. That's why I started using cookie sheets or
Yeah.
hanging them if
And,
they're worms. Yeah.
with respect to, dead on's, far superior knowledge to how plastisol chemically reacts to certain things, per kind of their wishes. Yeah, I don't water dip water bath anymore, nor would I, even if I was not using Dead On. Like if I cared nothing at all about what Travis had to say, I still wouldn't do it. Um, I don't have a need for it unless I'm clear dipping. It's kind of one of those things. If you just want to make some baits real fast and literally run right out the garage and go fish with them that hour, that day, if you just want to set them up real quick and then run out and use them, look, it's not going to hurt. But I think long term, it's just not a good practice to get in the habit of and rely on. That's kind of how I would put it. And look, I want to get Travis's butt on here.
Yeah, I was gonna say
And
we need Travis
yeah,
on because he can go into super detail about all
I
this.
would I would love to hear him talk about that. I need to tell him. He might not even know that I started a podcast. So I need to give him a call and be like, "Yo, can you come on here and talk about plastisol? Can you just come talk?"
Yeah.
That would be so much fun. Dude, thank you so much for the super chat. Big fan of the two of you. He loves the shift powders and the scales. Yeah.
Thank you,
3.5
Rodolfo.
tracer
Thank you.
shad. Okay, so this is a question for me. The 3.5 tracer shad or the 4? Me personally, the 3.5. That's just the one. So I shoot the 3 and the 3.5 right now. And the 3.5 just seems to be money. We have Adam in the chat. What's going on, buddy?
What's
Yep,
up,
yep, yep.
Adam?
All right, SDG, thanks for tuning in, man. We need to have you on. All three of us need to get on here and, flap our gums a little bit. Water bath for
Absolutely.
same day use, otherwise give them time. Yeah, it's sort of what we just touched on. Hey, if you want to do it right because you just want to set them up real quick and don't tell anyone, it really doesn't hurt. But yeah, it does not cure them. It is not proper curing process, and your resin will absorb that moisture right away. Hence I don't do it anymore. But it is sort of fun to go back and sort of look at why I started doing it. It just was a practical way to solve a problem. But I don't do it anymore. So I would love to hear people in the chat. Also give their thoughts on it. Okay.
I'll save this for when Travis is on the show, but I would love to ask about because I have questions about hang curing too. Because some
Me
baits
too.
I hang cure,
don't
some
do it.
baits I
Yeah.
cookie sheet cure. So it depends on.
Mm-mm. I do not hang my swim baits. There's
I don't hang my swim.
there's something about I don't want them to stretch and elongate because I know how malleable plastic is, particularly if it's not cured yet. So if let's say I had poured a set of G6s today, okay, and let's say enough time had surpassed that, okay, the molds are cool enough that now I can demold these swim baits, right? So I'm going to demold them, clean them up, lay them out. The last thing I want to do before I feel like they are really cured is do anything that would stretch them, because they're to me, they're just not ready. So yeah, hang curing, particularly a big, bulky, heavy bait like a swim bait, not for me. Now, if I'm hanging up Cincos by the runner, by all means.
Yeah.
Hang them by the runners all day, doesn't matter. Yep. Here's Michael in his own chat here.
I'm just engaging with the chat while you're speaking.
Yeah.
It's all good. I'm keeping them.
Yeah. Thank you,
Pipe,
Dexter. Thank you,
Pipeline further back asked the question, what's the right amount of worm oil? I don't know
Worm
what the
oil?
right amount of.
Okay.
Yeah, I was referring to be careful, don't put too much worm oil in your bag. Because similarly, if they soak too much, you're basically what you're doing with your worm oil is it's plasticizer. So ultimately, as that absorbs into the plastic, it's going to soften it. So if you're pouring something in, say, Craw 2 blend, and you put a bunch of plasticizer in there, and then let's say you sell it to a customer, and then they sit on it for a little bit, and then now it's been 3 months by the time you inject it to when they're gonna, let's say, fish it.
Totally
Now
different
it's become a medium to potentially medium soft plasticizer. So you got to be careful with how much. Less is more.
And in extreme cases, if you had enough worm oil, aka plasticizer, aka softener, you can actually degrade the resin ratio so much your baits will legit fall apart
Yeah.
in the bait bags.
Yep.
Yeah. Great question here about the riprap. Yeah, so the riprap does not lay flat on its side, back, or at any angle. I would absolutely hang them from it's kind of a sprue, I guess, because they're single top port injection. Yeah, I would hang them by that. That's really the only option you have.
Yeah. A lot of people just stick them on one of their
Just
peg
literally
hooks. Yeah.
stick them on the pegboard. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's another great question: mixed up baits. Do you add scent when you package your open pours?
Oh,
If you're referring to like my swim baits, no, I do not add scent. Any sort of moving bait like that, that's kind of moving and more of a visual bite. I've personally never had a swim bait customer in multiple thousands of swim bait customers now ask for a swim bait to be scented.
yeah. It's a
Michael, any
reaction bait.
thoughts?
No, I'm with you. It's a
Reaction
reaction
bait,
bait. Your
yeah.
reaction baits that you're, I guess you could argue maybe if a fish is following behind it, they might smell something, but that's
Yeah.
mostly for like worms, craws, jigs, totally use scent, trailers. But yeah, reaction baits, I don't usually. Plus, again, you get into that same thing we talked about. You're going to want a very particular plastisol or a blend if you've done that for whatever swim bait you're doing for that tail action
Yeah.
you're going for. And that scent is just going to soften up the plastic even more.
So,
So.
okay. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was done. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Pete makes a great observation here, right? Let's pretend that these are rip wraps and they are single port injection, right? So this is how they sit in the mold side by side. He's saying that he actually, after he's done injecting all 4 or 5 ports, he'll actually run a bead of plastic across to
Yeah.
connect the ports, and that basically will create the runner effect, and so he can hang them all at once. Very, very creative, buddy.
Yeah, great way to hang them.
Little cute G3s here.
Now, if you're going to go to that much trouble, please tell me you're taking the extra step to cut off your sprues and not rip off.
Instead of rip them, yeah. Now, look, worms, man, I'm ripping. Frogs, I'm ripping. Swim baits, I'm cutting.
Anything I'm putting that you're going to hook, like thread a hook through, I'm clipping for a nice flat surface. Yep.
Okay,
that's just me. I'm not saying you all have to do that.
Yeah, it's okay. So it looks like somebody mentioned a potential injector sale. Somebody had a question about trying to get a injector at a good price. There we go. Yep. Baldwin Bates asks, "What do I do with 50 pounds of remelt pucks, buddy?" Those are little jewels of your colored past, right? Like you can look back on all your color creations there. And I'm sure a lot of those pucks came from really great recipes. So definitely don't throw them away and reuse them and mix them in new ways. Heat 2 of them up and laminate them. Just see what you get. Or you can grind them all together and just create junk plastic. I would say try to use them as thoughtfully as you can. Don't do like I used to do in some of my old videos where I just put 30 different pucks in a pot and melt them all together. It always looked like, human excrement.
So here, I'll give you an idea, Baldwin, since Baldwin Baits with your logo and everything, I'm assuming you got a company. So here's some food for thought. Especially if you got 50 pounds of it.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
It's a lot of money, right? Now, there's 2 options. If you've already written it off and it's just waste, but you feel like, I don't want to throw it away, do like what Chris said. Find some light colors, grind it up, but then inject maybe there's a new mold you got that you want to show your customers, or maybe an old mold that maybe sales fell off. Just inject a bunch of them, bulk pack them and use those as like sample giveaways. Hey, free gift with your next order. And it's just maybe a mold, that you like, here's a new mold I got in. Here's a sample of the new, shape, if you want this in whatever custom color, but here's a sample, so you can try it out. You can turn it into marketing spend if you think of it, put your business hat on, and there's ways you can repurpose that, especially if it's already paid for. Or, like Chris said, find light colors, hand pour it, especially the small ones. Get some hand pour molds. You can sell those as fresh baits if you don't want to blend your colors together. There's Lots of stuff you can do if you get creative.
Yeah, listen, that's an amazing idea. That it sounds to me like that's essentially a free way for you to get more baits in the hands of your customers,
Yeah.
and potentially get a bait in front of them that they will want to reorder with your real colors. So, yeah, I think that's a fantastic way to use it. Um, a limited edition color, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Buy a crappy mold for your scraps, yeah. They will just about bite anything. Yep. Use them for panfish baits. I used to use that for personal tackle box baits. If I shot a gallon of red bug or June bug or watermelon red, there's always going to be a little bit, of bottom pot plastic left in the bottom of the pot. Those are the baits I made for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, hold the chat accountable here. It shows 125 people watching, and I only see 93 thumbs up. So can we get some thumb love in the chat, please? And smack that thumbs up.
Everyone, y'all have been very generous with super chats tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That is the lifeblood of creators. For anyone who goes live, it's tough out there on YouTube. So mixing the colors together.
It's going right into the Chris needs a new camera fund.
Yes, because I'm sure it's about to cut off. Question I get a lot: are your baits scent infused? What are the best practice for scenting? Okay, yeah, so we actually just touched on scent. I think the best way to use scent is to maybe put 10 drops of it per bag. So whether it's a bag of, I don't know, let's say you scent frogs, let's say you scent craws, worms, whatever it is, tracer shads, ripraps. I think it's best to just add a little bit to the bag. That porous plastic that can also absorb water will also absorb your scent oil. You absolutely never need to add scent oil to the hot plastic during the process. You will only just cook it off, and then you're just wasting scent.
Yeah. So I'll give you a couple ideas for y'all out there. So I've seen a lot of people like to, if you do a process where you have a Tupperware container and you put a lid and you kind of put your baits in with the oil and you shake it before you put it in your bag, you could add a couple drops into that process. There is one area to mix it in.
Yep.
Another process you can do, kind of like what I do, and I kind of took this from Jeff over at MF, but they don't do scents anymore. If you go to the Dead On site, for example, they sell the worm oil separate from the scents. Buy some of the empty bottles. They sell the Pigment bottles in Yorkers. Buy an empty one or two of those, and if it's like garlic or coffee, and you can fill up one of those jars with just worm oil, and then take like a medicine dropper, pour in a little bit of the scent and shake it up. Now you have scented worm oil. And so now you can do like what I do is I put my baits in a bag, and then I just go right before I seal it up, I go squirt. I just put one squirt in there, kind of, rub the baits around a little bit, seal the bag, done. Just to, so there's lots of different ways you can go about scenting your baits.
Yeah. I think if you just add it to the bags, seal the bags, that scent's going to be there years from now. You can open up that bag when Jesus comes back, and it's still going to smell like garlic. Let's see. This gentleman here on the fence about the shooting stars. Okay, he wants to know if Michael has used his. They are so much fun.
I have not used it yet. Someone else asked me about this too on Instagram. I was messaging someone.
Time for video, it sounds like.
I have been doing the plans. There will be a whole build out series since Jacob didn't give us one in his new shop. I know you're watching, Jacob. So I'm going to be moving stuff around and doing a whole build out because I have my shooting star to set up. I have my fishing all out hot plate that is sitting here, and my fishing all out air vise. So huge shout out to Kyle. I hope he's recovering over there, by the way.
I'm not sure he's had his surgery yet.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll text him right now.
Yeah.
Text him right now.
We're thinking of you, Kyle.
Of course.
So Stro Boogie, no, I have not used it, but I still highly recommend. I know I'm going to love it. I kind of pushed it on Adam. And I think Adam is enjoying his. He seems to be enjoying it. So Adam if you're watching, maybe Adam can jump in the chat. Okay, there he says, amazing machine. Yeah. I have never heard anyone talk bad about a shooting star. I'll put it that way. Like I've never seen any video where someone's like, oh my God, I hate the shooting star. I think it's a pretty cool setup. And I think for people, it's that good mid step into getting into, production.
Yeah,
Or
for
you can,
sure.
and then you could
It
be
is
like,
neat.
I love the videos. Was it J Bros Lures? Instead of going the Zorn molds route, you look at he's got like 20 shooting stars, and they just got one for each color, all lined up in their bait shop there. So,
Okay.
there's lots of ways you can use it to bulk up your production. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about getting one back when I was doing Land is the Limit, my actual soft bait brand. But before I did World's Worst Fishing, before videos, content, anything, when I was just purely a bait company, I thought about getting a shooting star, and I actually kind of went through a lag period where I didn't make baits for 2 years. Um, so I'm ultimately glad that I did not invest in one. Would I like to have one now? Of course. I don't think I would make the best content with it because I just don't need production capability at this point in my bait making career. I've kind of found, my voice
The,
with, hand pouring a lot. So I'm really enjoying that. So no plans for me to get a shooting star at the moment.
but here's what I will caution you, Stro Boogie, and anyone else. It doesn't stop with the shooting star, because it's the shooting star, and then you need the extra heater for the injector, and then you need the air vise, and then you need cooling plates. So once
Yep.
you start, it's not just that. There's more stuff that you're not going to need it, but very cool. Like if you watch Adam's journey, oh wow, okay, I need an air vise. Oh wow, these are hot to the touch, and we need cooling plates. We got so if you want to keep up with the
Yep.
production,
Yep.
but
Yep.
when you get it all set up, as I'm sure Adam can attest to, you're a production, you can do so much more in a very short amount of time. So if you are doing
Yeah.
production, it's a great, great investment. Absolutely. And it's a capital expense, so you can depreciate it over time,
A nice
for your
tax
taxes.
write-off, a
Yep.
nice business expense. Yeah. Oh, great. The question of the year: should Chris Jones get a shooting star or a soundproof booth to block out the washing machine noise?
I well,
Definitely the washing machine has got to go.
yeah, but fun fact, isn't the washing machine been going all night and no one can hear it
It's
because of
going
this?
right now, and
Yeah,
nobody can know.
they don't even know.
Nobody can hear it.
We've
That is
defeated the
some sweet
machine
revenge.
noise.
That is some sweet revenge. Yeah, and so the video I filmed today, so my next long form video um, coming out is going to be about nerding out on some tubes. We're going to nerd out on all things bass tubes, um, and there's no laundry noise.
I have a
It's
question for
amazing.
you. What I would love for you to try, because now I'm going to shout out this person on Instagram because this is totally their idea.
Do we need to pull up their Instagram? We
Maybe,
might
yeah.
could.
Big Money Jonah, if you're familiar with him, I
Let
think
me, let
Big
me see
Money
if I
Jonah.
can even get in Instagram here.
So I saw the picture of the tubes you texted me earlier, and I immediately thought, so Big Money Jonah just did where he
Money
looked
Jonah.
like he shot some 5-inch flukes, and then right where the body meets the tail of the fluke, he put an eyeball on each side and then clear dipped it so it looked like a squid. And he
Oh, I
sold them
see
as
it.
squid baits. And you sent me those tubes, and I thought to myself, I wonder if you could put an eyeball on the
Oh,
side of those tubes and then
yeah,
dip
yeah,
the tube
yeah.
and then get the tentacles and maybe get a squid looking
That's a
tube.
great idea, actually.
So I wanted to give credit to Big Money Jonah because that's where I saw it. We got to give credit where credit's due. But I thought that was an amazing idea. Like, way to use a 5-inch jerk bait for something completely different.
Right, I'm about to pull it up. Yep,
Yeah, there
this
it
this
is.
is fantastic, guys. Oh, hold on.
Make that full. Yeah, look at
Yeah,
that. Is
look at
that
this.
cool or what?
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of tubes with eyes. So you can actually, and this is really neat. You can actually get. How do I change this up? Yeah. So you can actually get eyes that are not 3D molded with epoxy. You can get what's called flat eyes. So they're essentially just the backing of an eye
Mm.
without the actual hard epoxy or plastic dome. Those work great for this kind of stuff. You can just slap them on the side of a bait, and you don't have a giant, you know, bulge essentially coming out the side of your bait. Really fun fact there. So yeah, you
I
can
wonder.
absolutely do this with tubes. I did not do that in my upcoming video. I'm sorry. Now I feel incredibly lame, but we can
No,
absolutely do something like that.
do a
That's no
part two.
problem.
I
This is
noticed
yeah, this is really great.
Bastrix. Bastrix does a very similar thing. I bought a bunch of baits of theirs recently, and
Okay.
I noticed
Yeah.
they had similar thing. These are like their little scope minnows, but I can't see it because it's stupid fixed focus. Yeah, but you guys can look it up.
Yeah.
Bastrix. They do the same thing. They put an eye and clear dip it,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. I got to get into this clear dipping more. I just ordered some
Dude,
dotting
clear
paint
dipping is so
from.
much fun. Yeah.
I
And
ordered
you
some.
get to use a bath whenever you clear dip. It's amazing.
wh- I
It's-
I ordered. So I went on Lureworks. I ordered some salt so I can do some experiments with that, and I
Yeah.
ordered black dotting paint, and
Oh,
I
my
got
man.
clear. I got clear dotting paint because what I want to do is I want to see if I can mix some of my hollow shift powder with the clear dotting paint and then do some dotting with the hollow shift. So we're gonna have some fun
Now it's
hand
getting
pouring
nasty.
stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna have
Like
some fun coming up.
yeah. I just use siren scales in a worm. That is effing nuts. I wish y'all could actually see what's happening here. There's no way for me to bring it forward and it focus, but yeah, these worms are one of a kind. So yeah, it sounds like you're gonna get nasty with some dotting paint, and I'm here for it, man. I use black dotting paint in more ways. It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Oh, here's the question. Here's the question. Does anyone have information on custom bags? China. You got to go to China.
Yeah, pretty
Um,
much.
and
Pretty
anyone
much.
who's telling you that they're making them here, they're going to China. Um, yeah,
So
there's a couple of sources I would trust. I have not bought bags in over a decade now, so
well here's the thing. So Bags is actually a place where if you go online, if you go to Alibaba or one of those places, that's actually the same price, if not cheaper, than if you were to go through because someone who says they print them here, like Chris says, there's not very many people that manufacture the bags here and do the printing because of the chemicals involved to print on the plastic, etc. That just the laws we have here.
yeah. And
So
just to jump in, correct me if I'm wrong. Um, at least when my bags were manufactured, the actual layer where the ink is printed is in the layers of the bag, right?
yeah,
That's how it's protected from the oils in your baits. It's because
yes.
it's a laminated poly bag. So it's not like you can just buy bags from China and then have somebody print over them. It has to be a part of the manufacturing process.
Yeah, yeah. So typically what you'll do, and you have to buy them in large bulk amounts. You will have to pay import duties on them if you want to do it legally. But basically you go on, you tell them what size bag you want. They'll give you an art template, and then you
Yep.
can either complete that template yourself or give it to your designer, whoever, and then you send it back, and they'll do test prints and send you photos. And then once you agree, they'll print them, and it'll take depending on how you ship it, whether it's
Yeah.
air or sea, it takes upwards of 2
I've
months to get here. So it's
yeah.
it's a process. It's a and keep in mind you got to buy several thousand at a time. I mean, I don't know anyone that'll sell them for
Well,
less than
yeah.
a couple grand at a time.
So I'll say in recent years I've seen some Chinese suppliers um, offering lower quantities like 500 to 1,000, but to get good economies of scale,
Yeah.
you've got to get a lot of bags. Okay, unless you want to pay 40 cents a bag, you've got to get a lot. So I would say just because you could find someone who will do a run of 500 bags for you, I think I think if you're in a position, Kyle's actually calling me right now.
No,
Um,
we're live,
I
Kyle. Come on.
I know. Yeah. I think if you're gonna pull the trigger on only 500 bags, you don't need bags. That's the way I see it. Unless you have actual retail shelf demand, why are you buying custom bags? Unless you need that order of 50,000 bags, I see it as just unnecessary novelty. If you're even going to pull the trigger on these low amounts and pay far too much per bag than what you should be paying, you're not ready for bags. And that's not coming from a elitist perspective. I'm just trying to say, look, if you're in a position where you only need 500 to 1,000 bags, that means you're still green, you're still new. Invest that money in your product, invest it in your marketing, invest it in practice. I don't think you need bags. I don't think you're ready for bags if you're looking for only 1,000.
Yeah,
Any
agreed.
thoughts?
Put a sticker on a clear plastic bag.
Mm-hmm.
At that point,
I gotta quit burping, man.
for it's all this carbonated
Drinking
beverages
Yingling.
we're drinking. Yeah, so you got to order them in a large, large quantities. 5,000 is the only place I've seen from like a real reputable packaging factory. And again, I'm used to large quantities because of what I do in the headphone space. But
Yeah.
yeah. And just be careful out there, folks. Just be careful. I see stuff flying through chat. Just be careful where you order from. That's all I'm saying. Just be careful.
Yeah, bags are one of those things. Look, it's cool. Does it make you feel good? Yeah. It's total novelty. It's total novelty for any garage bait maker. Even if you have a pretty booming contract with Tackle Warehouse, if you do not have retail demand where you need your bait to be on a shelf in a fancy bag next to Strike King, next to Yamamoto, unless you are really truly there, you don't need bags. I think one of the things that a lot of small bait makers, I think one thing they don't realize is that your ace in the hole is you, right? Your ace in the hole is that you are a small guy who can offer a custom buying experience and a custom color or even a custom mold, right? Maybe you invested in a custom mold. You can offer a custom bait buying experience that the dude with the fancy bag on the shelf cannot offer your customers. So don't forget that part of what makes you appealing is the fact that you're doing this in small quantities. I mean, let's face it, even if you have a shooting star, you're still a dink, right? We're all dinks at the end of the day. Even if you're really dinking it at the highest level, production in your garage is just simply never going to match production with Zorn machines and production molds. With that said, you still have the aura of being a small business, a custom bait maker. And I think you need to play to that strength as much as you can. Quit worrying about bags like what, Zoom Baits has. Start worrying about what can I offer that Zoom can't offer.
Yeah.
That to me is your biggest asset, is that you can offer a custom buying experience they can't. So I would not
And
worry about packaging as much.
And the thing too, when you get into actual retail packaging, there's a lot that most people overlook. So here, I see this all the time. Someone goes through, and let's say they get all this packaging because they're working on a deal for Tackle Warehouse or whatever. And they're like, okay, great. So then Tackle Warehouse says, great, we want 1,000 of your bags. And they're like, okay, fantastic. And then you mail them, and then they don't accept them. They send them back because they're like, you get into retail packaging, now you need, your bag doesn't say country of origin, right? Doesn't have
Or
it
doesn't have the Prop
there's,
65
there's no
warning or
prop
something,
there's no Prop 65 warning on here. Where do we put the ISDN barcode at? It's not
What
big
are
enough,
your
right?
UPCs?
UPCs. Where's your address? Where's your legally registered business at? Like there's certain things you need on your package that if you have never sold into retail, you'll end up in it, and I've seen it all the time. Because it's bags depends $800 to $1,000 to get bags. Some people think that's a lot of money. Some people think that's not so much money. I can tell you in the world of packaging overall, compared to what I do for packages on headsets, like that's nothing. But let's say you dump $1,000 on packages and you get some big retail contract, or even if it's your local bait shop, and then they turn around and they're like, hey, we can't use these. Now you got to spend another $1,000 to get your bags remade a second time to have all the proper stuff on there. So just keep in mind what you're going to use your bags for. And again, I don't want to stand on a soapbox and say don't get bags unless you're ready to order 5,000.
Right? It's hard for me not to sound like that.
I don't sell baits, right? Like I give them away. I have bags because I like to present my baits a certain way, but I'm also the person that doesn't mind going through the hassle, getting the artwork done, doing all that. Like that, I'm a product manager for a living. This is what I do for my day job. So it's like, I just like to present my stuff a certain way. And if you want to do all that, like by all means, like we're not here to tell you one way or the other. So, But bags is a large order quantity, and your best bet
Yeah.
is overseas.
I just think.
Hopefully,
Oh, sorry.
no. So hopefully, some of that stuff will start coming back to the States, which would be nice to see. And there will be more and more suppliers who do that. But until regulations ease up on inks and things we can use, there's not many options for
Yeah,
mass
I
printing.
think bags will ultimately come down to it's an investment that a lot of people rush to make that they just don't need to make yet.
Yeah.
That's you know, if I started my company over again, I would have not. Well, okay, I'll put it this way: I will not reorder bags when I run out. That's not my game anymore. I was doing retail at a small level regionally through a regional distributor. So yeah, I needed my stuff to look good. Did I need 40,000 bags? No.
Well, here's a great trick I actually saw. I'm gonna give another shout out to another content creator,
All
smaller
right.
YouTuber. I think it's Get Out and Fish USA is his channel on
Okay.
YouTube.
All right.
He did a walkthrough of his bait shop, and now when I saw his bags hanging up, it looked like when he does a scan through, it looked like he had this whole like all these custom bags printed up.
Okay.
But what he did was he used clear bags, and he went to Sticker App, that's who I use for my jars and labels and everything.
Yeah.
And you can buy clear stickers.
Yep.
And so he bought all his logos and got a clear sticker on a clear bag. So
it
when
looks
he
like it's
put it
printed.
on there, it looked like it was just printed on the bag. So he
Yeah.
just he bought them large size and just kind of covered them on the front. I thought,
Yeah.
that's a pretty slick way. And now you're paying 5 cents a sticker as opposed to 40 cents a bag, and you can just buy your packs of
Yeah.
you know 100 or whatever
Yeah.
off Lure
Yeah.
Works
I
or
mean,
clear bags wherever. Yeah.
I just think that that's a better mousetrap for the small bait maker who doesn't really have retail demand. Yes, I understand the want for us to look as professional as we can, even though they're coming off a tabletop in our nasty garages, right? I understand the need to want to compete and to look professional. Um, a lot of people doing the swim bait thing are buying clamshells, because it looks really good, to box up your really fancy pours in a clamshell. I personally don't use clamshells. I find them to be too expensive, bulky, and I don't have room for them, and I have to pass the price on to my customer. However, I still have a surplus of bait bags, so I'll have to make a decision at some point. Do I want to move into clams or do I want to stay with bait bags? So yeah, it's just one of those things that's real nuanced. Um, I think for most people, buy clear bags, get a sticker. Does it require more work? Yes, you have to put a sticker on each individual bag, but I think that also plays into the charm. Again, what can you offer that the big brands can't? You can
Yeah.
offer a custom experience. When somebody buys custom baits made by a person in their garage, you're doing that because you don't want it to look like off the shelf baits, in my opinion. So don't make it look like everything else. I think you can do something arguably even better and more authentic to what you really are, which is a small business. So just something to keep in mind. Guys, we have 136 people, so I hope we
That's
have
awesome.
lots of thumbs up. So we're exactly an hour and a half in, and we have the
Let's
highest
go, chat. Let's go.
group viewers right now. Guys, if y'all are liking this content, if you find this valuable, please subscribe to both of our channels, World's Worst Fishing, Bait Chucking with Michael. Drop us a super chat again if you find this to be valuable content. So, yeah, let's see. Okay, here's a question for Michael.
I saw that pop up. Run and gun, you will have no problems.
I can
Those
answer that one.
siren scales will handle up to 400 degrees Celsius for up to 2 hours before they start to degrade. That's very hot. So anything you're doing with our hot plastisol needs, you should be fine. That is part of the reason why the conversation we had at the start of the podcast. I highly encourage you to go back. Right, like.
Yep.
High-end material is expensive. It is what it is. So that's just the standard markup that I use. But I am trying to bring to market the absolute highest quality pigments available, and this is them. So you'll have zero issues with heat.
Yep. Yeah, I've used scales enough to know that if you're doing this process even remotely correctly, you're not going to have a problem. If your plastic is reaching 400 degrees,
Oh,
um, you're 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 doing something wrong in your cooking process.
I have
So,
several pictures that people have sent to me. I now call them cupcakes with sparkles because they send me pictures. They'll cupcake
I know where
their
this is going.
plastisol cup, and it's all black and charred, and then there's all the siren scales and hollow shifts still like
Oh yeah, yep.
reflective and
Yep, I have burnt up, man. I have burnt up some plastic pucks with powders in them, and yeah, the plastic is completely smoked. But yeah, I can see that 24 karat dead shift in there, perfectly
mm,
looking
yeah.
fly. It's a shimmery gold muffin. That's so funny. Yep, yep. So yeah, I've had no problem with siren scales. They are a major upgrade from the old Mylar flakes and glitter films that we had to use in the past.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, so we're right at about an hour and a half. Unless
Hmm.
anyone has any more questions or wants to engage in the chat for a while further, we can hang around. But I'm trying to kind of keep them all somewhat relatively the same length, just
Yeah.
so people kind of know what they're expecting. I will
Well,
do a 3 hour, I'm sure, eventually, but that's not the
yeah.
goal. Um,
Well, I'd love, I see
yeah.
a lot of, a lot of the other YouTube bait makers in the chat. So
Yes.
hopefully we can get
Yes.
them to cycle through the podcast as well.
Yeah.
Would love to see Travis on here at some point to talk about some
Yep.
plastisol
I want to
questions.
get Josh, even though he's a bit
Yeah.
of a recluse at the whenever he leaves his shop. Travis can talk. I definitely will make an appeal to him. Um, Also, some other bait makers. Look, motivated fishing, right? You may know him from TikTok. He's going to be on the podcast. We're going to talk about his incredible story, how he came to be a bait maker, and he is one of those guys who is doing massive production. Um, he started a bait business in his garage from the ground up. Now he has a full warehouse, 3 or 4 shooting stars. He has a Zorn machine. He has a nickname for his Zorn machine. He's doing big things, and he started just like the rest of us. So I'm kind of more on the tutorial, educational creator side of things, and he's more on the join me for my bait business growth journey.
Yeah.
Two very different types of content, but he's doing what he does at an extremely high level. He's been very successful, so that'll be a whole different side of the spectrum to engage with. So hopefully we can have him on, and
I'd love
I'd
to
love for
pick
you
his
to be here for that
brain.
one too, because I think he does use 8-bit powders. So
Oh,
yep.
sweet. I'm
Hmm.
curious to see how I'm working with someone else that's going to run them through a Zorn machine too. So I'd be
Yeah.
curious. I mean, that's next on my list. I mean, at least that's my goal eventually, is to get my own Zorn machines and do my own production. So
Don't forget about me whenever
I'm
you
not.
strike big. Is there any
I'm not.
information that you haven't shared in the videos that you want to share with bait makers on here?
Well, I think that's what we've
Ooh.
been doing. I mean, for 2 episodes now.
I was going
That's
to
the
say
whole.
this, you are in the right place. These are the conversations that I just simply cannot have in my long form videos. If you go back to all 440 videos or however many I've done now, during my process in each of those videos, yeah, you will see, um, me bring up a lot of these topics and discussions just kind of in the course of the video. But these back and forths, this is really information. This is why I did this podcast. I wanted to be able to share information that I normally cannot. We have a super chat from Sweden. Man, I would love to visit Sweden. Y'all have the prettiest country. My
It's
favorite YouTube
beautiful.
content creator. Her name is Jana Yinten. She lives in a teeny village up in the north of Sweden called Grundjarn. I probably just butchered that name. She's the goat. She's the goat of YouTube. I absolutely love
Mm.
her to death. She's incredible. So,
Sweden is beautiful, beautiful,
hmm
absolutely gorgeous.
how's the weather up there? I'm sure it's bright and sunny right now. So. Kidding, of course. Thank you so much for the super chat. I love the fact that I have a viewer in Sweden. I am honored.
That's
This
awesome.
is
Thank you,
fantastic.
Patrick.
Thank you so much, man. Um, Chris, do you pour any lead jigs? I have done the lead thing. I still have my lead pot. Right now, a friend, Happy Jack, has all my lead molds, and I doubt I'll ever see him again. So at currently, no, I'm not pouring lead, unfortunately. So
That's other stuff I bought that I haven't done yet. I have some do it lead molds, and I bought a lead pot. I just haven't poured any
yeah.
jigs yet.
Well, so what? Let's try and answer this gentleman's question from Sweden. Any
Hmm.
European supplier tips?
I don't know of anyone over there.
There have been some plastisol and pigment suppliers pop up in Europe. I see them every now and then post in some of the Facebook groups like Soft Plastic Bait Making Q&A, Soft Plastic Bait Nation. They're if you join some of the larger Facebook groups about soft bait making and you do a search for European suppliers, I do think you'll find some options there. I do not have names off the top of my head. There's even one down in Australia now, I think. So it's starting to become a thing, But some of the best soft baits in the world are European. They're dehydrating fish and actually molding perch swim baits from a real perch, and some of their airbrush work is the
Wow,
best I've
that's
ever
cool.
seen. It's absolutely incredible. I don't know if they're using silicone as the actual material or the PVC plastisols that we use here in the States. But just to try to answer his question, I do think you can find answers to that in some of the Facebook soft bait making groups. There's a lot of information there about European suppliers.
I would also recommend Patrick hit up Man Cave Baits on
Man
Instagram.
cave baits. Okay.
Yeah, he's in Sweden as well, so maybe just ask him where he grabs some of his stuff
Okay.
from. I don't know if he gets it here from the
You know what?
States or
I
wherever.
have a swim bait. I have a swim bait customer in Finland who now pours, and he actually imported all of the AI molds. Let me see if I can find his profile here. Okay, Yanni Schmidt. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing this right. JANISCHMIDT. He's on Facebook. Um, oh, yep, there he is. I don't know if that's in focus, but he is a Nordic country bait maker who hand pours. So I don't really know if he wants everyone blowing him up. But yeah, you can certainly try to reach out to some other bait makers who are up in your area of the world. They do exist. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
Is basically the point. So yeah, he's been a great customer of mine. Heck of a hand pourer. So he's one of those who used to buy baits from me until he got bitten by the bug, and now I lost a customer. So Michael.
This seems to be happening a lot. My goodness,
I know, man. I know. So,
converting people from customers to bait makers.
man, maybe I should just shut this whole thing down. But anyway, okay, folks. Well, I think we're going to the centrifugal molds.
Yeah.
Those are cool, centrifugal molds. So I think we're going to go ahead and shut this one off.
Good episode
man,
tonight. Meaty
great.
topics.
Meaty topics. Yeah, we're not afraid to get into the weeds on a couple of things.
No, not
and
at
look,
all.
this is not to try to disrupt the industry or throw shade on any suppliers or vendors. Especially some of the companies that I represent and promote. It's just to have discussions, because that's what people are doing. We're just trying to give what wisdom that we can on the subject, and just try to clear up any misunderstandings the best that we can. That's sort of the goal to having these sort of discussions. So
Well, and I just want to give a shout out to everyone in the chat right now too, because I've seen chat all night long. They've had their own conversations going. They've been interjecting into art, which is just what we love. The interaction is kind of what steers the podcast. So thank you a lot to everyone for participating in the chat. Every time you send a chat through, even if it's just a thumbs up, like emoji or whatever, that's all engagement. So it really does.
Engagement.
It helps the algorithm. So we appreciate people being active in the chat. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Reed Outdoors.
Reed, thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you so much.
He has a YouTube channel as well. He's another up and coming YouTuber. Yeah,
everyone check out Reed Outdoors. You heard it here. Go check him out. Kirk, thanks for being here. I believe you were here for the episode 1. So Yeah. Well, anyway, this video is obviously going to be uploaded to the World's Worst Fishing YouTube channel, so you'll be able to go back and watch this again if you want to rewatch any juicy segment from it. Um, and then also feel free to jump on that video once it finishes uploading and leave some comments on future podcast ideas.
And
80,
share it, please. Share it on
yeah,
Facebook.
share it.
Share it on TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. And
Ask Josh
you
to make more panfish molds. I think he might actually be. We had a talk earlier today.
you have to make a playlist on your channel for the podcast. Now,
Yep,
Chris,
yep, I do.
So people,
Yep,
yeah.
I do. Yep. Okay, well, guys, we are out. If I don't leave now, I'll never leave. So, big thanks to Michael for being here tonight. I
Thanks for
know
having
that
me.
I'm sure we won't be a team every time conflicts happen, but it's great to have that extra voice to keep the conversation going, especially someone who's as well versed in this stuff as he is. So.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, I'm going to figure out how to end the broadcast now, and we will see you guys next time on Casting Creations. Be on the lookout. Oh,
Perfect timing for
perfect
the camera.
timing. No, I know. Be on the lookout for my next World's Worst Fishing video, and I'm sure Michael has a video coming out.
It should be one tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. So you have one coming out tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yes, I
don't
do.
put mine out tomorrow. Okay. I'm just kidding. When is yours going live?
I always put mine live at 6 a.m. Pacific time, which I think is 9 a.m. East Coast time.
Okay,
That's
all right.
usually
Well,
when I go
okay,
live.
that'll work out fine because
Yeah.
I'm usually like a evening kind of guy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, thanks thanks for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you in episode 3.
Sweet. See you, everybody.
See you then. Y'all enjoy.